Director General of Health Services Dr. Asala Gunawardana further relaxed the COVID restrictions in place over 10 other categories today. According to the revised guidelines, zoological gardens have been given permission to open at 25% of its visitor capacity. In addition, wildlife and children's parks, adventure sites, camping sites, and betting centers were given permission to reopen and operate under the prescribed health and safety guidelines. Owners of rest houses and boarding houses can also resume daily operations in line with the health and safety guidelines. The revised guidelines also permit indoor musical shows to take place at 50% of the premises capacity, but however prohibited outdoor carnivals and musical shows. Dr. Gunawardana also stated that tournaments and group activities exclusive of physical interaction could take place without spectators. In the meantime, quarantine guidelines for travellers arriving in the country were also revised today. As such, via the new guidelines, vaccinated travellers who have not arrived from a travel-restricted country under special permission and release from quarantine with a negative on-arrival PCR test don't have to undergo a PCR test 7 days after arrival. However, unvaccinated children aged between 2 to 18 years accompanying fully vaccinated parents should undergo a COVID-19 PCR test on the 7th day of arrival from a Ministry of Health approved private or state sector lab. The travel guidelines also amended the list of countries where travellers have been restricted from entering the country. As such, tourists with a travel history in the past 14 days include transit to India, South American countries and South African countries have been banned from entering. Vietnam, which was also previously part of the list, has been removed. However, the guidelines listed out special categories of travellers allowed to disembark in the country if arriving from or transited to travel-restricted countries with the permission of the Director General of Health Services. Accordingly, Sri Lankan and dual citizens along with their foreign national spouses and valid resident visa holders can enter Sri Lanka. Further, foreign national staff members of the diplomatic missions or UN organizations or UN specialized agencies or international organizations with permanent officers in Sri Lanka holding diplomatic passports and their accompanying persons can enter the country. The guidelines also permit the entry of foreign nationals arriving for important projects, meetings or discussions as invited by the Sri Lankan government or private organizations. Meanwhile, with the easing of the tourist guidelines, Minister of Tourism Prasanna Ranatunga revealed that steps have been taken to create tour packages targeting vaccinated tourists.
In Sri Lanka, the President and the government commitment is to vaccinate at least 60% of the population in the Sri Lankan community. Once it's done, Sri Lanka will be a safe country to travel. So we are going to introduce a promotion scheme for the tourists who are fully vaccinated. We are at the moment discussing a promotion scheme with the airlines and the hoteliers. They are giving a proposal for the promotion scheme. So we are going to amalgamate and do a promotional scheme for tourism. So with that, we hope that the tourism industry will have a kickstart from middle of September.
In the meantime, State Minister of Vehicle Regulation, Bus Transport Services and Train Compartments Dilu Mamanugama announced today that interprovincial bus and travel services will be temporarily suspended from tomorrow until the 1st of August.
Lever Ayush Kaha Saban Sandak Wage Babalana Pivituru Samakata